She's riveted still.
There she is. There she is.
You're traveling through another dimension, a dimension not only of sight and sound, but of mind, a journey into a wondrous land whose boundaries are that of imagination. That's the signpost up ahead. Your next stop, the Twilight Zone. Hello and welcome to Indefinite Lunch and Infinite Combinations number 175. 175 of these things, where we are exploring all of the Twilight Zone. Today we're taking a closer look at the season 3 episodes The Hunt and Showdown with Rance McGrew. And so Scotty R37 isn't here today. He's spending time with his family during Remembrance Day, and that's what it's called in Canada. It is essentially their Memorial Day. And here it's called Veterans Day. But the idea is similar, paying respect to those who served, those who died for the freedoms that we enjoy. So thanks to them, it's now our freedom to lose or to keep. And so I ultimately hope we can. And when he was still living, I tried to remember to call my grandpa because he served in Vietnam. And so I do appreciate the sacrifices. So I just wanted to make sure I said so. Gratitude is a very important thing to have. And hello, Brogu's here. Hello. Happy Veterans Day. Oh, and an even better Veterans Day show is going to be on later today. Oh, I still have Rod up there. So it's going to be on King Dolphin TV's channel before Pop Culture Breakdown at Doomcocks. Check out King Dolphin, and he's going to have a Veterans Day broadcast there, which will be really very good, which the whole show will be about. So check him out later. So let me put that link in the chat. He's not here, so his link isn't going to automatically show up. Let me find. Well, I know I have his link. Let me find that. Do I have any wrenches in the chat? There it is. Just look for Dolphin. Stop looking for King, Jill. There it is. But check him out later, definitely. King Dolphin. Raymond Feliciano. Awesome guy. There he is. Oh, it's not today. I thought it was today because it was it's Veterans Day today, but it's tomorrow. I take that back. Raymond Feliciano, King Dolphin's show is tomorrow on Wednesday. Of course, his show's always on Wednesday. I don't know why I mix that up. But in any case, check out his channel, bookmark it, put on notifications, hit that bell for that show. That's going to be a good show tomorrow. Hello to Tony from Stark of Iron. Great to see you. And hello to Gavin Blackburn. Gavin, of course, he was first. And FKHC 2005 says, hello, United States, Canada, and all the ships at sea. And Snurpoopa says, hello, humans and other critters. Yes. And FKHC feeds Snorty. Oh, that's very nice of you, FKHC. And hello to Kimberly. And so we've got a couple episodes today of the Twilight Zone to talk about, and I'm ready to talk about them. Here's the first one. Let's make this part larger now. So you can see that the original broadcast date for the episode The Hunt is January 26th, 1962. Let's see who else we have here. Oh, hey, the glove cleaner's here. And Tony's keeping me on his background radio. He's doing really well with all of his work, so keep it up. You're gonna be great. You're yeah. Keep at it at the things. Keep doing the things you do, Tony. We love it. But today we're going to talk about The Hunt because that is our topic for today is the Twilight Zone. The Hunt is our first episode. So let's focus on that one first. It was written by Earl Hamner. And so I've got a lot of resources here. I've got two important books that I reference mostly during these live streams. And this one, of course, is Mark Scott Zekri's book, The Twilight Zone Companion. Such a great, I want to say concise book, but it's also, he can elaborate too. He does a great job of bringing together all of the important things of the episodes. And further expounding on that is Unlocking the Door by Graham Martin. So together, those two books, The Twilight Zone, Unlocking the Television Classic, those two books absolutely tell you all you need to know, or at least a lot of what you need to know about the Twilight Zone. And here we learn that this episode was written by Earl Hamner. He broke in, how Hamner broke into the Twilight Zone, says Zachary, is a remarkable story. And then he quotes him. So Hamner says, "When I came to California, I had an agent in New York who introduced me to an agent here. So I thought, well, fine. I'll go to work immediately because I'm a hotshot writer. I spent the next 6 months trying to get writing assignments. The main problem was that producers would say, 'Yes, we've read your books,' or 'We've seen your name on tape television, but you've never done any film.' It was as if to do film, there was some mystique to it. They had to absorb with the smog. Consequently, for 6 months, I went without work when I first came to California, and we had spent most of my meager savings in renting a house and having our furniture shipped across the country. The money was simply drifting away, all because I didn't write film." I like the fact that, yes, he's a writer, but since he didn't write film, then they weren't hiring him. And so he needed to absorb the smog in order to be the smog of California to write for film. That's kinda funny. And and Brogu says, "I'm enjoying the outdoors because here in Houston feels absolutely wonderful. It gets so hot in Houston. You can't normally say that." Yeah, today is much cooler here in Texas. True story. Weather alert for my very next show. We're gonna start having the Enterprise with the snow falling because I basically made it a tradition whenever whenever there's a first snow for Scotty R37, I start showing the snow background instead of the stars for my shore leaves. But for us in Texas, well, for me anyway, I know some of Texas gets snow, but mine, it's just enough for us to get 40 degrees or so. It's nice and 40 Fahrenheit. Nice. It's nice for it not to be too hot. It's great getting into the fall season here. Phantom Outsider says, "Hail chat." Hello, hey, Phantom. Phantom Outsider says, "In the hunt, we learn always have a dog or oiler burr with you. Someone with a sensitive snoot." Well, it does prove very helpful, doesn't it? But I think it's probably whatever the test is in that particular instance in the Twilight Zone version of this, universe, I think that the test would be different depending on how you are equipped, but, um, it definitely wouldn't hurt. Yes, that's actually exactly word almost word for word what Serling says as the closing narration for this episode. Thank you, Phantom. Grogu says, "My brother Grogu and I are going to enjoy some delicious eggs." in honor of Veterans Day. Frog eggs? Asks Snorty. Yes, and good morning to the Comic Relief Crusader. Of course, barbecue frog eggs. Wow. I've never barbecued eggs before. And where the glove cleaner lives, they just got out of the 20s. And how okay. Okay. Lots of frog talk in the chat. Enjoy that, guys. Matt G. Hello, Matt G. And so after all that, after not being hired because he didn't write film, in 1947, Hamner finally meets with Serling and he has an idea. He says, I thought of a couple of Twilight Zone ideas and I mailed them to Rod. And I received a very nice letter in which he said, our decisions are usually made by committee. I had passed on my recommendations to the other committee members, and you'll be hearing from us. Shortly after that, Buck Houghton called and said, we like these stories, but we understand that you don't write film. Would you like to write them up like little plays? I said, no. I would like to write them up like little television scripts. so so that's the struggle that our writer for this episode, Earl Hamner, had to deal with, but he does go on to write more Twilight Zone episodes than this one. This is just his first. And so we start in a little country road where a man is chopping wood, so let's get to the slides. And hello, hey, Sinister, great to see you today. Let's just say, yeah, great to see all of you. And so a man is chopping wood here in a little country road. He is Hydner Simpson, played by Arthur Honeycutt. And he received an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor in The Big Sky. And maybe I'll watch that someday. So many of these things I have not seen. I'm still trying to watch a whole lot of things I haven't seen more recently produced. But I won't give up. I'm going to keep watching new stuff. He's also been in The Red Badge of Courage. Hey, that's a great book. And lots of other things. Definitely check out the stuff he's done. He's been on Perry Mason a couple of times. And of course, like everybody in this era, he was on Bonanza and Gunsmoke. But he also made it to an Outer Limits episode. I gotta check that one out. I don't know which episode that was. Gotta love the Outer Limits. And meanwhile, a woman inside works on cooking something in the kitchen. She's making dinner. And she is Rachel Simpson. So meet the Simpsons. Played by Jeanette Nolan. And she'll show up one more time in season 4 when we get to the episode called Jess Bell. And she also notable to me personally is that she voice acts as a muskrat in the movie The Rescuers, which was a movie I really loved as a kid. But of course, she's done a ton more than that. She's done, let's see, she was nominated for 4 Emmys, so obviously she's done way more. Dirty Sally, Macbeth, and lots of stuff. Gunsmoke again, of course. Alfred Hitchcock's Presents. Have Gun Will Travel. Perry Mason again. Oh, more Perry Mason. All this stuff. Really, really incredible things that she's done. And Hawaii 5-0 later in life. Very neat. Brogu says, oh, okay. Oh, no. And more egg talk. Yes, very nice. I don't get any time to see you guys in the morning because of work, so I'm catching up. Aw, thank you. Oh, Apex Comics is thanking my bot, so Apex must have gotten his channel posted by my bot. Thank you. Yeah, there it is. Subscribe to Apex Comics on YouTube. Definitely check him out, and you'll have a good time, especially if you like creativity and comic books and just hanging out and having a good time. He's a great guy. So this old couple living in the country, they begin to bicker, as old married couples tend to do. He complains that she closes the door, but she defends herself that she needs to keep the dog out because of ticks and fleas. Well, not to mention all the other insects and wild things that can run into your house when you live in the country. She's right to close the door. But of course, if I have ever have a dog, he will absolutely be living inside. But of course, this is a different time, so I'm no one to judge in this particular instance. And flea medicine is much easier to come by nowadays. Anyway, yes, once again, this is Hyder Simpson, and he's Rachel. Hyder isn't very happy that Rachel doesn't want Rip in the house because apparently at some point the dog saved his life. We don't know when that was or if it's just having a dog in general has saved my life in terms of how I feel about life in general. It is unclear exactly how Rip has saved his life, but that's all we need to know. It is a good argument too. So, of course, Rip is allowed inside the house. "Let the ornery thing come in," said Rachel, and Hyder says, "And another thing, don't talk about him like that when he can hear you. Rip's got feelings. I don't want them hurt." And Rachel says, "I'll let him in the house, and I'll feed him, but I'll be switched if I'm going to start sweet talking him." And then he starts teasing her about the last time she was kissed and gives her one on the cheek. And it's really cute. And so this is something okay, so Hamner is also a writer for other things. This is just his start in writing. Apparently, he goes on to create a series based on his own family, which this episode is also based on his own family. And in this TV series, the characters are more positive, and the name of that show is was The Waltons. And so, side note on that one, if you wanna hear reviews of The Waltons, check out Gorilla's Random Thoughts. They've been talking about it for a long time now. All the episodes of The Waltons are being reviewed there with Gorilla and friends. And so, yeah, there is a similarity between the old man and the old woman here and Grandma and Grandpa Walton. The similarity is not accidental, says Hamner, because at that time, I was working on a series of short stories called The Old Man and the Old Woman. Those characters which I used in The Hunt were later to become the Grandpa and Grandpa and Grandma Walton. And so that's that information. There he is. There's Rip. Meet Rip. He is Hyder Simpson's dog, and he's a good boy. Very much a good boy. And so they are coming up on their 50th wedding anniversary. They have been through a lot, and you can tell that they love each other even though neither of them say this ever explicitly. It's easily telegraphed through their acting and what they say to each other and how they behave honestly with each other. Then he explains he's feeding Rip at the table because they're going hunting after dinner and will return around midnight. But Rachel says, "I wish you wouldn't go hunting tonight because I saw blood on the moon." And 2 days ago, a bird flew in the house and lit on your side of the bed and nearly scared me to death. So she's seen all these bad signs, all these bad omens that are telling her that that are helping her see that he should not go hunting. But he says he doesn't believe in this kind of stuff. And there you go, trying to spoil a good hunt. So he goes anyway. And then we get the opening narration, an old man and a hound dog named Drip off for an evening's pleasure in the quest of raccoon. Usually, these evenings end with one tired old man, one battle scarred hound dog, and one or more extremely dead raccoons. But as you may suspect, that will not be the case tonight. These hunters won't be coming home from the hill. They're headed for the backwoods of the Twilight Zone. And so we made it through to the opening narration here. Let's see what the chat is up to. 'Cause I see you guys enjoying a discussion here. I remember this episode. The actor rolls his cigarettes like a reefer. Oh, the next one in the Showdown, Rance McGrew. Yes, absolutely. Well, and that was the case. Men used to always have to roll their own cigarettes. They'd get the tobacco and they'd roll them themselves, or they'd smoke it in a pipe. But that's in the next one, the Showdown with Rance McGrew. So my suspicion is confirmed. Walton's Mountain is in the Twilight Zone. Always knew it was suspect. Hmm. Oh, okay. Snorty mentioned the Waltons first before I got to it. Nice. How about those cowboys? In an old expression referring to getting away from the old topic and getting onto something new. That road looks like Andy Taylor and Opie will be coming the other way any second. Yes. Yeah. So Hyder and Rip, they set out that evening to go hunting. Oh, Harold Schuster is the director, for sure. That's important to mention. So we got our little raccoon, the target of the night. He's on the run. Rip has him on the run, and Hyder's glad that Rip ran the raccoon up the tree. The raccoon is clever and escaped from the tree without Hyder noticing. I mean, without Rip noticing. And Rip regains the trail, and the cute little raccoon keeps going on. And Hyder hollers for Rip not to go in the water. But Rip is already in there, and he's afraid that Rip is going to drown, and he loves his dog very much, so he jumps in after him. And it looks like they yeah, it looks like they both suddenly drowned, and really, the death is telegraphed in the opening narration. Because and it's telegraphed here too, because we only see the raccoon leave the water, the river here, despite not being able to see them before in the water. All we see is the water. We see them again. Oh wait, here he is. This is Hyder jumping into the water. But we don't see them come up. We only see the raccoon come up. The raccoon checks the water and goes home. And the next morning, despite not being able to see them exit the water last night, it's morning and we see them by the water. They both seem all right and they decide to head home for breakfast. And Hyder says, that old woman gave us Hail Columbia for staying out all night. I mean, I guess when I hear this phrase, people are usually saying that somebody gave us hell, but I guess I need to figure out why does he say Hail Columbia? Is that just a euphemism because he doesn't want to say hell? I'm curious about that particular thing. Oh, Hail Columbia is a personal anthem of the Vice President of the United States? What? How does that make any sense? Okay, anyway, if anybody can explain this to me, that would be nice. I'm guessing that sus is what the kids say for suspect. Yes, my son says it all the time, and Snorty confirms. Not quite. Nightmare at 20,000 feet. But okay, I guess. Yes, hello, the Wayfarer Project. These episodes, I'm going through every single Twilight Zone episode, so the good and the well, there I don't think there really is such a bad Twilight Zone episode, but these are just kind of both of these are kind of just average, kind of not exact something we've seen before, but I still enjoy these. Oddly, polar bears keep up with the young human slang, no one knows why, but they do, says Phantom Outsider. Next week should be better. Next week is Kick the Can and something else. I forget what's next week. Phantom Outsider says, note the loyalty of the doggo. He could have gone off without his human, but decided to stay to guard his friend. True. You can't beat Shatner's facial expressions in that one. No way. No, of course not. Oh, I can't wait. But that'll be later. Not yet. We're not there yet. But thank you for showing up, the Wayfarer Project. It's good to see you. Let's continue the episode. So Hyder, they're returning home, and he realizes, oh, I've been up all night. My wife's going to be really upset. But they got to get home and they got to eat. They're hungry. That's where we are. And so Hyder returns home and he finds two other men digging up a plot on his land. And why are they digging a burial plot? And it's only not only that, but it's only 3 feet or so. And the reason why it's so short is because it is for Rip, or so shallow rather, is because it is for Rip the dog. But the man actually really respects Rip and appreciates Mr. Simpson, so he starts to dig the grave a little deeper. And so then if you didn't figure it out already, that Hyder, Simpson, and Rip drowned in the river. But it's gonna take a long time, a very long time. I know these episodes are only 20 minutes long, but it seems like it takes forever for Hyder to figure out that he's dead. And so that's one of the main frustrations probably with this episode is the character having to catch up with the audience is sometimes not so fun. And so we've got Hyder as a ghost and Rip's ghost walking around because they really did drown that night. It turns out that Rachel's intuition was correct, even if it was from some omens that may just have been her gut feeling, a culmination of her gut feeling. And so once he realizes it is a funeral for a dog, he's before he realizes that it's a funeral for a dog, he gets really upset and he points his gun at them because they're on his land digging up holes. But when he realizes that it's a funeral for a dog, he puts down his gun and now he's behaving very compassionately and asking about their dog's death and understanding that their silence could be because they're grieving. He doesn't he doesn't for a minute think, why can't they see me or hear me? No, it's just, oh, they must be their hearts are too broken up to talk to me, and I am just bothering them. And so he lets them carry on burying Rip. And so Earl Hamner has more quotes. This quote is from Unlocking the Door. He says, "My family was what you considered back folks of Virginia." He grew up, oh, yeah, also, Earl Hamner grew up during the Depression. He said, "My father would go hunting for pheasant and quail, and he had a hunting dog he loved. One night, the dog ran away, and my father spent all night searching for him. It was part of the family, you know. So when he found the dog the next morning, the animal was dead, and my father grieved. The hunt was my first script for the Twilight Zone, and it is probably my favorite. Not because it was my first, but because a part of my family influenced the material I used to write that script." So he leaves the Millers alone to their business, despite them burying on his land, and checks to see what Rachel has made for breakfast. Let's see. Let's see what is going on here. The poll! I forgot the poll. There's no stinking poll. We don't need no stinking poll. And hello to Pleasant Valley Picker CA. Hey, guys. Hey, hold on. I forgot the poll. Because I don't have my co-host here. And I totally forgot, guys. Thank you so much for reminding me here in the chat about the poll. I can still put it up. It's still early in the stream. Which episode do you enjoy more? The Hunt or this other episode, which is hard to remember the name of? Let me grab it from over here because it is a strange episode to type. So it's easier just to copy and paste it. If I can. If it's possible. Here we go. There it is. And so just a little behind the scenes work right now to bring the poll up. Here it goes. Showdown with Rance McGrew. It fits. There's the poll. Thank you guys for reminding me. Yes. And yes, hello to PvP. Hey, it's Jed Clampett. Wait. Is it? It is not Jed Clampett. But okay, so who played Jed Clampett? What is No, this is not Buddy Ebsen. This is who we've got here is Arthur Honeycutt. There he is. Arthur Honeycutt. There you are, PvP. There's his name. But but maybe it looks like him. Jill, don't let us dig our own grave and give us the poll. Thank you, Greek letters, for reminding me to put the poll in. Now you guys can vote. Thank you, Pete G, for being here. Hello. This has the form of a classic Appalachian folktale, Earl Hamner's wheelhouse. What episodes for today? Well, there you go. Right in the poll, PvP. Thanks for being here. No wonder they were so broke up. As he'd be so upset if his doggo passed, and he lets them bury strangers on his land. Which is a really nice gesture on his part. Yeah, they are neighbors that he knows. So the Millers are neighbors. He knows them. But he's like, "This is my land. Why are you burying here?" But then when he realizes that they're burying a dog that is very meaningful to him, and you're absolutely right. He has compassion for that. It's a holiday here. It's a holiday here too. Yes, I already talked about how it's Veterans Day here in the US and Remembrance Day in Canada. I hope you're having a good day, PvP. The pet dog is named Rip, like rest in peace. Good point. Where's Jill's wacky neighbor? Well, I'm here, and I hope you enjoy listening to me. The odd part is that his old lady wasn't there but it might be. She was so upset. Neighbors took her in, and well, no, she is there. She is there. She was very quiet, but she's very quiet because of course, she's grieving. There she is. She's grieving. See? She's there. She's just not all there. Between you and me, I prefer Jill solo. It's more quiet that way, with fewer distractions. I guess you could say it's more peaceful, although I do like having friends to talk to, but I do have friends to talk to. Look, there are plenty of people here. I'm so glad y'all are here. I'll vote later. Don't remember these. All right, that makes sense. I like both, but we'll go with the doggo over the more comedy episode that follows, although I like that one too. Yeah, I like these. I like these. These aren't the best Twilight Zone episodes, but it's hard to find a really bad one. John the Beagle Dad, hello. How's Porthos? And hello to Canadian Spider-Man. Good morning to you, anti-derivative Joe. Good morning. Let's see. Oh yeah, I even have a link to the Beagle Dad's YouTube page if you like to see cute puppies, and a link to Canadian Spider-Man's channel. There we are. Very good. The Wayfarer Project says Rance McGrew sounds like the name of a starfighter pilot. I think that's probably why in the fictional universe of that episode, they let him keep his name as the titular hero of his western. That's part of why McGrew even took the job, apparently. I do believe that we're going to be here until 6 p.m. Eastern time. No, no, no. We'll get through. The hunt is a good one. Yeah, it is pretty good. Great to see all of you. And Porthos's puppy training has been keeping me busy. That makes sense. Very, very dogs are a lot of work, just like similar to children. The chat's a worthy co-host. Yeah, absolutely. Incredible co-host, in fact. I meant as to why they're burying him. We don't know if there's a time dilation as to why no preacher or wife at the burial. It was odd. Well, we don't get what do you mean? We don't actually see his we only see the burial for Rip. We don't see Hyder's actual burial. But yeah, I think if yeah, I would have been there for Rip's burial, like my husband's dog's burial. I would have started there and gone back in the house after that. But I'm not gonna judge what, she's doing. I always vote on the intuition, not only on Jill's poll. Interesting. PG says, "I love this one because it's about the love and loyalty humans and animal companions have for each other." Yes, that is pretty beautiful. Well, and yeah, the best lines are at the end of the episode, no doubt. Hmm. Oh, you think that they already had not the actual burial, but the actual funeral services? That's possible, but we completely missed all of that part. So you're filling in some time that we didn't get to see. I gotcha. I've been watching The Twilight Zone recently and catching up. Wow, that's great, Kim. And Mage Grey Wolf says he might have been in a state of unconsciousness for a while. Hmm. Some of these episodes, I like to think of them as food for thought, kind of eerie episodes. All right, fair enough. And so we do have Rachel grieving, in the house. And she is dressed all in black and mourning, just staring into nothingness. But Hyder's still unaware. He tries to tell her good morning or morning, but she doesn't answer. So he comments on how she's dressed and he becomes indignant that you can't leave me just because I was out all night. Because I guess she maybe he suspects she's giving him the silent treatment. I don't know what he's thinking. He still doesn't get it. So then Reverend Wood shows up. He's going to hold Hyder's funeral, even though he never went to church services, which is good of him. So here in our Reverend Wood, we have our only Star Trek actor for today. He played Ed during the season 3 episode Spectre of the Gun, which is one of the better season 3 episodes in which DeForest Kelly gets to act in a story about the OK Corral for the 3rd time. So that's the Reverend Wood. I don't get a good picture of him here. There he was. And yeah. Yep, yep. Played by Charles Seal. And of course he does other stuff too, but I'll let you figure that out. And so she describes how she had tried to tell Hyder not to go hunting because she saw bad omens, but he went anyway. And that Hyder knows about it, so he still doesn't get it. He's still not getting it. It's getting frustrating. The Millers and the others come to the house because they're going to serve as pallbearers to take Hyder's corpse away to be buried while Rachel mourns with them. And I think that he finally gets it, that Hyder finally gets it, but no, he's still in denial. He's thinking that this is only a dream, even though all the evidence is right in front of him. I almost feel like they could open the casket and show him himself, and he still wouldn't believe it because that's just how hard-headed he is in this episode. So, they're carrying the coffin with Hyder outside now, with Rachel and Reverend close behind. And Hyder's ghost is trailing the procession, and he's just still more baffled. He can't get with the program. He is attending his own funeral procession, and he just can't wrap it around his mind. And it was really late. Oh, yeah. I had this note here. It was really late when I made these slides. So Rip does this cute little yawn, and I yawned at the exact same time too. Yawns are contagious, even through the television screen. But something different happens. He doesn't actually get to attend his actual burial because Hyder runs into a fence instead. And when he runs into this fence, he realizes that he is lost. He's never seen this fence before. Where did this fence come from? And so he's got to walk along this fence with Rip. And as I'm describing this, it's going to sound like I don't know what I'm talking about, but that's because the episode kind of fools you a little bit. And so you've got to travel along with it to see the little twists that it gives you. So he follows the fence and eventually he reaches a gate. And everyone watching immediately assumes, "Oh, is this the gate of heaven?" It's got a I mean, it is, I imagine, I suppose in the Twilight Zone, heaven looks different for everybody. Of course, for Hyder, it's gonna look just like home, just like his backyard. And So he reaches the gate and he says, "I've never traveled so far we couldn't see the top of Wales Mountain." And the person in behind the gate can actually see him and hear him. And he gets information from him. He's got a list and he's writing down everything, filling things out. And the guy here at the gate is played by Robert Fulk. And he was in Lassie as Sheriff Miller. And he was in a couple of Lost in Space episodes too. And lots of other things, of course, that you're free to look up. But finally, we get he finally this was a rather painful way to finally get it through to Mr. Simpson that he is dead. The man at the gate asks how he died, and even now, even still, he's still trying to ignore the possibility. He still doesn't want to believe it. He still wants to be in denial. He sees all the evidence, and he just and then Hyder retells the entire episode to the man at the gate, so I don't have to tell that part. This is all just his journey of coming to the realization that he is dead. And of course, we've done that before to a much greater effect with other episodes. Hamner, the guy who wrote the episode, has another idea here. He has another quote. The actor who played the role of the old man much too seriously. He should have had fun with the role rather than treating it so literally. It required a kind of homespun tongue-in-cheek approach, because the idea of a hillbilly angel immediately imposes a certain kind of fun. You know, let's relax. This is a romp. And I guess that is achieved in the Waltons, although I still haven't seen it. I just know that you, PvP, and Gorilla's Random Thoughts do review it. So Hyder gets distracted and asks the man at the gate just what is beyond the gate, and he says that it is the Elysian field. And this is the first hint that this isn't heaven, because the Elysian fields is more of a pagan thing. And actually, I remember it from Greek mythology. It's part of Hades. So that's your that's your clue, but instead Hyder starts assuming that the man at the gate is Saint Peter. He's buying into the lie that this is heaven. So it's already telegraphed here that it isn't. And even the man at the gate himself doesn't say that he is or isn't Saint Peter. He just says that he mans the gate. But he doesn't tell Hyder that he's wrong to think what he thinks. And so he's ready to head on in. But the thing is that the gatekeeper won't let Rip inside. He says, "You can come in, you're gonna hear your favorite songs, your favorite hymns." But Hyder says he prefers guitar music instead of hymns. So I mean, what kind of heaven doesn't actually know your favorite music? Hyder doesn't want to go to heaven without his dog, which is really, really sweet and definitely the best part of the episode. And he's very indignant. He's like, "Hey, my dog doesn't have any fleas. You can't keep him out of here." Especially now. All dogs go to heaven, but I don't know about fleas. And one of my favorite quotes are here: "Any place that's too highfalutin for Rip is too fancy for me." And he also says, "A dog's got a right to have a man around, just the same as a man's got a right to have a dog around if he wants to be happy." Kind of an interesting thing. I read a book that my son was reading for school called "The Five People You Meet in Heaven," and there was one dog in the story that actually took the form of a human. So that was an interesting twist there. But of course, it can anyway. St. Peter offers to break the rules and let the dog slip through the fence. But this is when I still thought he was St. Peter. See, there was a certain time, but not St. Peter is what I'll call him now. Hyder doesn't want to go unless he and Rip can walk in together. And this not St. Peter is actually really nice because he's just really polite, trying to talk Hyder into coming in and leaving his dog behind, but Hyder will just never be separated from Rip. He cannot be separated from Rip. He refuses because this heaven is starting to sound worse and worse for him because it doesn't have any raccoon hunting either. No raccoon hunting. He can't have his dog. That doesn't sound right. So Hyder decides he's just going to take the road, even though Not St. Peter keeps saying, "Oh, that road leads to nowhere. That's for all eternity. You just be walking forever." But Hyder's made up his mind, and he tries to consider if he can just talk to the judge to see if he can get Rip in heaven, because he was not going to break the rules the way that not St. Peter wanted to. And just this the fact that not St. Peter wanted to um said that he'll sneak Rip in, that is another clue that it's not exactly heaven. So finally, we see another guy show up walking along the road, and he informs him that Hyder had just avoided accidentally being fooled into going to hell. And so because yeah, so the actual reason is that Rip would have warned Hyder because the devil can't fool a dog, and according to Mark Scott Zicree, that's the best line of the episode. You see, Mr. Simpson, a man? Well, he'll walk right into hell with both eyes open. But even the devil can't fool a dog. And indeed, earlier, if you were paying attention, when you watch the episode, Rip does growl and seem kind of really upset to be anywhere near the guy at the gate. He won't let him touch him. So dogs can detect evil. Why not? But here, Rip does allow this man to pet him because he's an angel, though he doesn't use his wings much. Hmm. And so an actual heaven hider will be able to have his dog and go raccoon hunting where no actual raccoons will actually be harmed. And so in this case, the guy at the gate was all in white, but he was actually a you know, a part of hell. And the angel over here is wearing dark colors, but he's actually an angel. He's actually from heaven. So the color scheme is actually reversed. And so I guess what happened here is that it was some kind of test for Hyder. Not sure exactly the significance of it, but I guess Hyder was saved by the love of his dog and his love for his dog. So the whole reason he gets to heaven is because of that. But he also has great love for his wife too, so he also confirms that Rachel won't have to go undergo any tests. She was much better, I guess, in life than Hyder was, so she wouldn't she won't be tested. But also kind of bittersweet is that the angel says she'll be along soon, meaning that she's going to die of a broken heart shortly, which is a thing that does happen. Or else maybe the timing in heaven and earth are different, but it's definitely a thing that happens. As the closing, we're gonna read the closing narration, then I'm going to check out that super chat that I think I just got. Travelers, to unknown regions would be well advised to take along the family dog. He could just save you from entering the wrong gate. At least it happened that way once in a mountainous area of the Twilight Zone. And well, and yeah, so the idea of passing on with your animals, usually though, you don't pass away along with them and you've got to meet them later. But anyway, Hyder was hunting raccoons and the devil was hunting Hyder, is my conclusion to this episode. And let's see what's going on in the chat, especially. Thank you to Sigvaldison. Oh, I haven't been showing the comments. I like to do that. The Hunt is an awesome episode. The best to you, Jill. I had seen this one recently too. I think I saw it during a watch party with Bird of Prey 5 because he used to do Twilight Zone watch parties. So I'm pretty sure my recent watch through of this episode was because of him. Did you do piano in the house? I don't know. It won't be fooled. Hmm. No, we haven't got to that episode yet. James Caserta, we're not there yet. Let's see where I am in the chat. I do have stars that help me figure out where I am. Here I am here. I mean, they have a box for the dog. It takes a while to get a box for a dog. Sure. Yeah, there's definitely some kind of time difference. Yes, agreed. Lots of singing and dancing in hell, apparently, says James Caserta. Well, that's what the man at the gate promised. The glove cleaner says, I've turned staring into nothingness into an art form. Well, Rachel was really good at it too. Hyder is a bit light in the thinking department. Yes, and it's so frustrating. It's one of those episodes where they drag out the obvious too long. Yes. Yes, agreed. Well, finding out you're dead would be a hard pill to swallow. That's true. That's true. You've got to go through all the phases of grief for yourself in that particular instance, and denial is a big one that's hard to get through. Dog is bored at his funeral. Yeah, he is. He's a very well-behaved dog. Before and after. The part of the episode after he figures it out is where the storytelling money is. Yeah, all the best part is at the very end, for sure. Yawning and painting are the natural stress relievers. Mm. Oh, panting. Yawning and panting because the dog is also panting. Because dogs don't sweat, they pant. Pete G says it's perfect how the gate of hell is manned by a lying stranger, a city slicker. Yeah, yeah, and that's how Hyder sees him as too. That I wonder what kind of tea party they have there. He was starting to feel like heaven was not a place for him, but it wasn't. It was hell. Watching these with Gorilla has reminded me that even though Twilight Zone has many classic episodes, it has mediocre ones too. Yes, PvP, then that's difficult to tell when you watch the Twilight Zone on TV because on TV they only play the super classics. You always see all the best Twilight Zone episodes, and you think Twilight Zone is this tremendous show that is always perfect, but we see that it is an amazing show. It is incredible, but it does have average episodes and does vary in its quality. What does God need with the guard tower? I was wondering when somebody would make that kind of joke. We always have that lying around here. And so if I can oh, right. And also, speaking of which, we've also got this. The Hunt is an awesome episode. So that'll be what I play as my video for you. And so we can do that. That's a pretty good one. Oh, I don't know where that one is, but we'll find it. I've got to have that one. Here it is.
What does God need with a starship?
Thank you. Thank you. That's perfect. Thank you, Phantom Outsider. Well, heaven is a place where nothing ever happens. That's a song. And I know that because of the little note symbols. I don't know what song it is. That is a song called Heaven by the Talking Heads. Thank you. Thank you for teaching me about music, glove cleaner. So the sheriff from Lassie is guarding the bad place? I knew it. Yeah, apparently. That sheriff always hated Lassie, and he should have hated Jeff or Timmy. I like the sweet and sentimental episodes. Oh, you know what though, Phantom Outsider? The fact that he hated the dog and not the kids, that reminds me of Buttons and Mindy from the Animaniacs, where Mindy would get in all sorts of trouble, but the dog is the one who always gets punished for it. Sounds like it's similar to that. I watched Lassie as a kid, but I don't remember any of the episodes. This is a sweet and sentimental one here at the end. Yeah, it had me frustrated the whole episode, but right at the end, it pulled me back in just with how sweet it was and how much Hyder Simpson loves his dog. Oh, yeah, I know. You guys are Gorilla, you and Gorilla and all friends are doing commentary, live commentary while you watch the episode and Cosme. Those are commentaries, not as much so much reviews, but I'm sure you do give your opinions on the episodes, but it's a little different format to this one. Canadian Spider-Man says, "Thanks for being here to support Anti-Derivative Joe." Yes, thanks, Wayfarer Project. We'll be getting on to the next episode soon. The next episode is oh wait, this episode did have music by Robert Drasnin. Drasnin, that's important to mention. And if you like music, the Wayfarer Project, on top of reviewing TV shows, he also does a lot of musical stuff. He's a musician, and he can really appreciate all of that stuff. That's pretty great. Soundtracks and all that. PG says, "Hell is truly a place where we are separated from our pets." Yeah, that makes sense. Canadian Spider-Man wants you to know, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to this channel to help it grow. If you turn on notifications, you won't miss a show. And yeah, I do that sometimes. Even when I'm subscribed to other channels, if I know that I need to see a particular show, I'll turn on notifications. Because sometimes, even when I hit the bell, I don't get the notification unless I click on the uh, notification button. All these levels of user interaction that YouTube wants you to jump through. I've already forwarded some playlists to both destinations just to cover all bases. Oh, thank you. The Legion's Fields is sort of similar to the concept of heaven in Greek and Roman mythology. It was a realm of eternal bliss for heroes and those with a divine connection. Thank you, Mage Grey Wolf. Elysian's Fields in ancient Greece was where heroes went when they died. It was filled with sunshine, unlike the bleak underworld, Anti-Derivative Joe. Oh, thank you. I appreciate you for that. Heaven is for cats too, says the Wayfarer Project. Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. The Rainbow Bridge poem is a tearjerker. Yes, every time I read it, every time, Mage Grey Wolf. Yeah, this episode did make me think of my cat, Samantha, and I'll meet her again one day if the great beyond is there. Well, would raccoons think them being hunted was heaven for them? That's what I was wondering. I was thinking if you're hunting raccoons in heaven, they can't actually be the souls of the real raccoons because that would not be very heavenly for the raccoons. So is it just kind of like a holodeck experience where it's just pretend raccoons? I'm not sure how that figures. Interestingly enough, squirrel hell also happens to be dog heaven. Great beach great wolf. Yeah, there's some difficulty with that one. Notice how the gate of heaven is a wilderness-y and hidden compared to hell. Narrow is the way. Wow, this episode is cool. The concept of a false heaven as a decoy exists in many cultures. And thanks to the Twilight Zone, it's part of our culture too. Very nice. You didn't get mixed up with those people. Oh, yeah, you remember the dialogue. Rip protects his master like all good dogs. And Mage Grey Wolf says, always listen to your doggo. Yes. Yes, that's true. Whenever I do get a dog, I, it is important. Sometimes they will know someone's character before you will understand it. L is for Maytag Repairman. Okay, James Caserta. Can't fool a dog. I can believe it. And some dogs seem smarter than some people I've met. Hmm. The classic switcheroo. Exactly. Yes. Aw. Yes, not all dogs are gonna be sweethearts. That's true. But even Charlie from All Dogs Go to Heaven made it to heaven, so I think all dogs go to heaven. Phantom Outsider says there's no singing and dancing in hell. They just go, we got one. Everyone sing and dance so we can draw him in. Yes. I'd rather, oh, yeah. James Caserta says, I'd rather be a stupid guy in heaven than a smart guy in hell. Yes. Well, and that describes Hyder Simpson. Yes. Great episode. All dogs go to heaven. Thanks, Robert Wright. Yes, I referenced that a couple of times already because that's my childhood there. I love that movie so much. Given the time frame from when this seems to take place, it would have taken a few days to a week to get a coffin. Yeah, it might have been as much as a month between then and when I don't know, maybe just a week. I don't know how long it's been between when they died and when the whole funeral and all that happened. Still better than today's shows by far. Yeah, even a mediocre Twilight Zone episode is leaps and bounds better than a lot of things today. Not everything, of course. Fortunately, there are exceptions, but by and large, you're correct, CRC. Mhm. Yep, yep. It's time to move on to the next episode, Showdown with Rance McGrew, which first aired on February 2nd, 1962. Where are we? There we are. So, this episode was written by Rod Serling, but the idea for it came from Frederick Louis Fox. And he had written a number of stories and teleplays for television, westerns, including Johnny Ringo, The Rebel, Zane Grey Theater, Black Saddle, and Lawman. And so there was also a letter dated October 12th, 1961, before the episode went to camera, where Serling wrote to Frederick Louis Fox in California. Serling thanked Fox for understanding, and he said, a few days after its completion, a little persistent gnawing crawled bug crawled into my consciousness, and I finally remembered someone telling me a story at the strike meeting last spring. I don't know if it was your story that pushed this one out of me or the germ of it made its writing possible, but I do know that in some 15 years of writing, I have never knowingly copied someone else's material. I've asked Bud Cowton, our producer, to contact Jay Richard to arrange a price for your outline and a credit of some sort which will satisfy you. Oh, wow. Okay, so very often when I'm reading this stuff, this is from Grams Martin, The Twilight Zone Unlocking the Door to a Television Classic. And very often when I read this, it's always Rod Serling defending himself, saying, no, I didn't take your story. This is how, these stories are not the same. And here's how. And he's always having to defend himself. Here, he's doing the opposite. He's saying, you know what? I didn't realize it until I already made it. But I think this was your idea. So I want to give you some credit, which is great and shows some great integrity from Rod Serling to prove that he's not just stealing people's ideas. He does give credit where it's due when he knows that it is their idea. Woohoo! See? Look at that. Good news. This episode with the guy who used nautical terms all the time was a bit mediocre. Oh, the episode where they use nautical terms. Oh, which one was that one? Good film, although if you were allowed to pick one person that ever lived to defend you and you wanted to love to win, I'd have picked Jesus. Like, he'd lose your case. Hmm. There were two shows, Lassie and Jeff's Collie with Lassie. And Enterprise Software Architect, also known as Old Man Bird, says, have fun, Jill fans. Oh, I'm having fun. Hopefully, everyone here is having fun too. This episode, Showdown, we're about to talk about, Showdown with Rance McGrew, was also directed by Christian Nibby, who gets a special joke reference in the episode. He's named after a funeral parlor. I don't know where it is in the episode, so it's okay to mention now. Sigvaldason says, forgot to mention, praise our eldritch god, push the button, should be our rallying cry. Yes, tomorrow on PCB, if you want to support Harvey and Overlord DVD, Doomcock, tomorrow he's going to be talking about the great Back to the Future, because of course it is turning 40 years old as I am, and it's the greatest time to talk about it. Absolutely. I can't wait to hear what the guys have to say about that. And it's going to be a lot of fun to tune into that one tomorrow night. PvP says, love how eccentric those that put him on trial present their arguments. Hail everyone again. Busy working in the lab, but I'm still here. Good to know you're still here, Tony. Hope you're doing well. And, oh, that's great. Enjoy the Twilight Zone PvP. It's really great. Okay. Greek Greek letters, we're not finished. We still have one more episode to go. But he says, okay, show's over, folks. Tune in next week for a special live stream from the Elysium Fields. Wait a minute. And so let's continue on with this episode. Cats aren't evil, they just know they're in charge in their proper place in the world. That's right, PG. It's good to know someone understands cats here. Did they ever find Larry Blyden? Look it up. What? Uh, I don't know. I don't know about that. I can't do deep research right now. I need to do that before the show. Look, I don't blame cats for their attitude. I blame the Egyptians for worshiping them for thousands of years. It went to their heads. Rob Wright. Oh yeah, Rob Wright will be on the panel. Oh, it's so exciting. I love that movie so so much. Back to the Future Part 2 because it's November 12th, the same day as the Enchantment Under the Sea dance and the possible convergence of time. Wait a minute. You are reviewing Back to the Future, right? I didn't get that wrong. Oh, it is part 2. You are reviewing part 2. I guess you guys already did part 1. Okay, thank you for the correction, Robert Wright. Still, I like that movie too. But definitely Back to the Future has the 40th anniversary. Thank you so much. I missed a trick there. You're talking about part 2, the sequel. I love Back to the Future too, Brogu. A nerd singularity. Yeah. So let's move on to the next episode now. Let's focus. So we have yet another Twilight Zone episode with a Western theme. But of course, it's the 60s. They like their westerns. They're super popular, so filming on a western set would probably save on some production costs. So we see a little town and a lot of horses, and we zero in on the saloon, and two men are waiting for somebody. Reasonably, their guest hasn't arrived because he knows he's going to get shot. They say that too, that he knows he's going to get shot. They're being very heavy-handed with how deliberately they're trying to fool us. But eventually they hear him arriving and we see immediately something strange. But after seeing all these horses and buggies, it's mighty weird to then see a Thunderbird drive up. The only cowboy thing about it are some horns sticking out at the front. And the men have to run out of the way as he parks his car. What a jerk. So this is actually a meta episode about filming a movie or an episode of something. So these are episodes of something. When I first wrote these notes, I wasn't sure if it was going to be a movie or not. So he's an actor. Rance McGrew is an actor, not a man condemned to a duel. And he gets upset. His director Cy tells him he's late, and Rance says, "You know how emotional scenes upset me before we shoot." And so immediately you know he's a diva. I know that refers to a woman, but uh, that description pretty much sums him up. And so he is Larry Blyden. He's an actor, producer, director, and he won a Tony for Best Featured Actor in a musical for his performance in the revival of A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, which he also produced. Okey-doke. He's also a game show host. Um, and the revival version of What's My Line. But unfortunately, he passed away. He had an untimely death at the age of 49 in a single car accident. But we see this horse with this big personality who's just moving his mouth over his teeth like that, which is really odd. And so I figured out why this is happening, why this horse is behaving this way. So apparently, a man named Leonard Gear, a fancy saddler and stuntman who specialized in trick horses, made a career doubling for actors in TV westerns, including Gunsmoke, Have Gun Will Travel, Tales of Wells Fargo. And so he was hired in this episode. He's an extra on the episode, and he brought along his trick horse. Brought along a trick horse, just in case it was needed. But really, all it did is give a little personality here to the horse as we go into the salon. And so here we are. Sai is telling McGrew that in his first scene he needs to walk in the bar and look around left to right. But McGrew disagrees. He says cowboys don't glance around. They look straight ahead. They take a drink, and Sai wants to do things his way. I mean, excuse me. McGrew wants to do things his way, and Sai agrees to do it his way. Yes, I guess the show's popular enough that the actor does have a big influence on what is done in the script. I think this was just Surly commenting on the cutthroat nature of some agents and how some abuse their clients. Rob Rob Wright thinks this episode is interesting. Who wouldn't want to star with Mr. Ed? He kinda looks like him, but I didn't really yeah, he kinda looks like the way he's acting is like Mr. Ed, but I think if he was Mr. Ed, somebody would have said something in the research, but definitely reminiscent. Is it true they put peanut butter in his gums so he could talk? Yeah, that's what I heard. And then when I talked about it with Tiger Stripes, she said it was even worse than that, but I don't even know what the worst was. Yeah, thanks, VP. So the director is Robert Cornthwaite. Ugh, Cornthwaite. Oh, you know what? If I try to say that name again, it's just gonna sound like I have a lisp or something. So he began his time in the U.S. Army Air Force as a radio gunner in a B-25 aircraft as part of the 12th Medium Bombardment Group in 1942. Yes, it was a good joke. It was a good joke. I thought of him too, the Wayfarer Project. It's funny. It I didn't need to include that screenshot of the horse. He's not important to the episode at all. He just demanded to be looked at. So so Robert was a veteran, so I thought it was important to mention that. And he was, in World War II. And then he of course, he did other acting. He was in the production of The Thing from Another World, which I feel like I wanna see that just from the title. And actually he played Dr. Carrington, the leader of the Arctic Polar Expedition, and he earned an entry into the Science Fiction Hall of Fame because of this performance. So, yes, absolutely, I need to see this. Hopefully, I remember to put it in my list of things to see later. He was also in The War of the Worlds, another more great science fiction. He was in a lot of great science fiction. Colossus, The Forbin Project. Great. And and also something called Mant, a spoof of sci-fi films. That sounds fun. I want to see that too. Also, Attack of the Bee monster movie monster. I need to see a lot of things this guy is in. Why don't I know more of him? I need to fix my Robert Cornswaith hole in my life. I have a Robert Cornswaith hole in my life. I need to fill it. So, just learning this. There's a whole lot more. Okay, we gotta move on because Mr. Grew is almost ready to film. but his tummy hurts, so he needs to take an antacid 'cause he's about to do an emotional scene. So they begin to work on that. So and then they're about to shoot a scene, and we finally get our opening narration from Rod Serling. Some 100 odd years ago, a motley collection of tough mustaches galloped across the West and left behind a raft of legends and ledger demons. Oh, I lost it. Hold on. Goodness, it's running away from me. And it seems a reasonable conjecture that if there are any television setups in a cowboy heaven, and any one of these rough and woolly nail eaters could see what careless abandon their names and exploits are being bandied about, they're very likely turning over in their graves, or worse, getting out of them, which gives you a clue as to the proceedings that'll begin in just a moment. When one Mr. Rance McGrew, a 3,000 buck a week phony baloney, discovers that this week's current edition of Make Believe is being shot on location, and that location is the Twilight Zone. So Rod is basically saying that Westerns don't particularly portray the Old West very accurately, and that makes sense. It's just for fun. It's just a fun thing that happened in the 60s mostly, and I know it happened in other decades, but biggest then. And and Rod called Rance a phony baloney. And also that Rance earns $3,000 a week, which in today's dollars would be $32,000 a week. So quite the difference in the inflation there. Okay, so I read that one. I was getting Larry Blyden confused with Michael Rockefeller in the Gone Missing thing. The glove cleaner. Thank you for clearing that up. I was wondering about that because I was wondering if there was some kind of conspiracy that he okay. But anyway, it's really sad that Blyden was lost just in a car accident right before he was about to do another and get another job. What the horse was saying was bleeped out, mostly cursing, says James Caserta. Yeah, the horse really did have lines, but he was too crass, so they had to remove it. That's what George Caserta is saying anyway. The scene where the director was staring, he looked like an angry Bing Crosby, in my opinion. Interestingly, Jesse James was one of the first famous Western outlaws. Very interestingly. This episode does make you interested in outlaws from the West. So let's get to business here. Rance McGrew is calling for his 6-gun shooter, but there's a lady crew member and she's sitting on top of it, and instead of asking her for it, the director just pulls it straight from under her, so she's understandably disturbed. And there's a possible hidden explanation for this. Maybe she's going to get paid extra. So there it is. There's her disturb. She had the gun under there, and now she doesn't. So here's the answer. The ouch of universe, not in universe answer is that actor Robert Cornswith was currently appearing in The Egg at the Magnolia Theater, and he played a role as a TV director. So he says, while we were making the scene, I stumbled onto something about the relations between actors and extras that I had never known before. And I had been in pictures for more than 11 years. Chris Nibby, who was directing, casually mentioned that it would be perfectly normal for me, playing the director, to put a hand on the shoulder of an extra girl who played the script clerk when I went over to check a line of dialogue. After 3 years in Hollywood, I still didn't get his drift. Perfectly normal, sure, but why make such a point of it? And then I learned that whenever a principal in a scene makes physical contact with an extra in a shot, that extra gets extra. Chris, who is one of the really nice guys in the business, was ensuring this extra girl an adjustment on her daily paycheck. So apparently this girl right here who is an extra, I don't know. Oh, I should have figured out what her name was, but this book didn't give me her name either. But whatever her name is, she got some extra money because she had the gun. She was sitting on the gun. So that's the reasoning, the out of universe reasoning for that. And so there you go. That's interesting to me. This looks like we need a cheap, fast episode. Let's go to a western town and not care about accuracy. There's the story. Yes, and that's the whole episode. Yes, Phantom Outsider. I can't say you're wrong about that. Not at all. So then you wonder why everyone clears out of the way because McGraw is trying to do some trick with his gun. He thinks he's fancy, but the trick doesn't go well, and he flings the gun straight through the bar set and he smashes the bar window. And and there's a guy up in the rafters. He's always just up there reading his newspaper. And they actually this is a visual callback. You think about this later when we see the ceiling, the roof again. And apparently there was a bet between Tommy and director Cy, and Cy has to pay up. I guess they bet whether or not McGraw would smash the window, the mirror. So they start filming, and McGraw walks in, and he only uses his eyeballs to look around instead of his whole head. So maybe that was a compromise from his suggestion from earlier. And he walks up to the bar to ask for some rock gut whiskey. But when the bartender sends it down, McGrew doesn't catch it. But at least he does does stay in character. But they have to cut anyway because this particular drama wasn't supposed to happen. The bartender is played by Robert J. Stevenson, who has only been in the Twilight Zone once before. As a voice actor, he played the radio announcer in The Midnight Sun. See- Oh, hello, hello, hello. Sorry about that. Hello to Low Specs Linux Gaming. We're here talking about the episode Showdown with Rance McGrew. And thank you so much for telling me I had it on mute. I don't think I had it on mute for long, right? It was not for long. It was just for a minute, right? Is that correct? Is rock gut an old Western term for rum? Yeah, okay. So if you heard rock gut, then we're good. Rock gut is just cheap whiskey, says the glove cleaner. Oh, it looks kinda like he's about to pick his nose here, but that's not what he's doing. Just a moment of silence. Good, 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 good. Thank you, everybody, for cluing me in. See, that's why y'all are great co-hosts. I appreciate you being here. In fact, I need you here, so I know when I'm muted. So, of course, he breaks the bottle, he drinks from it, and he ends up with some of this glass in his mouth. Oh, that's what he's doing. He's picking the glass out of his mouth. And he announces himself as the marshal and that Jesse James is on his way looking for him. And then we get some more absurd dialogue. This is very clearly and very deliberately poorly written, as Phantom Outsider says. Here's an excuse to make a bad Western. There's something else I know that you don't know, that you don't know, that I know, that you know, Jesse James. That's literally a line in a Twilight Zone episode. That's so terrible. And then we hear the stage direction. Now we hear the horse ride up and he stops and he dismounts and he appears on the porch. Really, the dialogue in this episode is kind of funny. The bartender says, "No killing here." And Marshall says, "Oh, I ain't aiming to kill him. Just gonna maim him a little bit. Just gonna pick off his pinky." And one of the bar patrons says, "Jesse ain't gonna take kindly to that." What the heck is this? Then the marshal makes a face and the director calls cut to bring Jesse in. And we will see Jesse James here in just a minute. Imagine you're muted and there's nobody there to hear you. Yeah, if there was nobody in the chat, I would just be talking to nobody and nobody would be hearing anything. How long would I find out until I'm muted? It's a fun game when I'm alone on the panel. Anyhow, we've got Jesse James played by Arch Johnson. There he is. Oh, wait a minute. This is a different Jesse James, not Arch Johnson. Hold on. Let me get my call sheet up. My list of actors in the episode. They're up here. Not that one. This one. So TV Jesse James is actually played by Robert Klein. So this one is Robert Klein, not Arch Johnson. We'll get to Arch Johnson later. So I got a little mixed up there because of course there are two actors who play Jesse James in this episode, ostensibly the TV one and then supposedly the real more realistic one. And so we've got to go with both of those. But I want to go back actually to these actors, the Cowboy 1 and Cowboy 2 as they're called in the script. I don't think they're given a name, but one of these is Overholtz, and he's in lots of Twilight Zone episodes. He's one of the passengers in the Odyssey of Flight 33, and an intern in at the end of A Thing About Machines, and the public service system announcer in 22. 22, okay, and the doctor in One for the Angels, and a taxi driver in The Jungle. So we get to see him a lot. And the other cowboy is Troy Melton, who was also a meteoric guard in the Star Trek episode A Taste of Armageddon. So, of course, this whole thing is being terribly overplayed on purpose. It is so painful to watch. I suppose it's supposed to be funny, but it's also painfully funny. It's funny and it's painful and it's cringeworthy. It's just bad on purpose, but I know it's bad on purpose. Just like a soap opera or a Hallmark, those Hallmark movies are deliberately terrible movies. And their dueling stances, they're just so goofy. It's over. It's over. I don't know if it's overkill, but it's definitely overdone. Now, this is a very strange thing. Then there's a shooting, and I guess a blank is used to knock the gun out of Jesse James's hand. The How that's done exactly is a question. I would like someone here to explain to me that particular special effect. So meanwhile, and what the only thing I can explain is that Tommy is very pleased with himself for having helped with that. Look, there's Tommy right there. He's very happy that he could help with that scene. Meanwhile, McGrew cannot even draw his gun. His six shooter just seems to be eternally stuck in the holster, and once he gets it out, he breaks the mirror again. So now he's up to 14 years bad luck, which does come true for him. McGrew tries to be cute about it, but Tommy's over here collecting more of his winnings. He's winning. He won another bet because the director bet again. But kind of, you know what though? That means that the director has faith in McGrew, whether it's well founded or not, which I think is kind of nice. But at this point, the director is also rather upset. He does the whole laughing and then crying bit. He's laughing, then he's crying. And Marshall McGrew has another scene with Jesse saying that they'll go up against each other one on one. And then they start this hand to hand combat. And just as usual with a lot of actors, a stuntman comes in to replace him at the more dangerous parts of the fight, such as when he's getting his head hit with the glass bottle. And it's a breakaway glass bottle, but still, I'm sure that still hurts. A pillow can no, not really, but I mean, a glass bottle, a real glass bottle would give you a concussion, but the breakaway glass bottles, I'm sure still hurt. And the stuntman is played by Jim Turley. So even this part becomes comedic because seeing it happening in action every time he's about to do something dangerous, he says, "Stuntman, stuntman, stuntman," and and so that's the end of the shooting of this particular scene. It was so painful to watch, but that's how acting goes, I suppose. It was enough to get the point across about what this is like. I enjoyed it for that purpose. And luckily, these episodes are only. Yeah, I don't say that often with the Twilight Zone episode. I don't often say, luckily, these episodes are only. Oh, wow, this one's 28 minutes. Oh, my goodness. This one ran long. Oh, no, that's not right. They're 20 minutes long. It's 20 my slides are 28 minutes long, Jill. What are you thinking? Never mind. Luckily, these episodes are 30 minutes long. Nothing wrong with flying solo. The more you do it, the more you can rely on the one person who's always available. It's true, and I am available, and I am here. But I also appreciate everyone else who is here to help me with some of the things that I usually, um, you know, have a co-host for. And CRC says, I was wondering why I went quiet as I'm inking my magnet. Hmm. There's that Jay Overholtz again. Yes, I like him. When I fly solo, I'm not always available. Yeah, that's a good one. Well, in this case, let's see. I do like, however, at the end of this scene, that McGrew does pay some respect and appreciation to his stuntman. After all, he was just yelling "stuntman, stuntman" during his scenes. So he does at least respect his existence. And I start getting a little exasperated when I see we're getting more of this. Here's the setup. All right, boys, this is the death scene. Rance in the bar. Jesse lies over there. Rance thinks that he's unconscious. Jesse takes a gun off the floor and fires at Rance's back. And so Jesse James' actor had some notes for the director indicating that this is how Jesse James would behave. He says that he would fight fair and not shoot someone when their back is turned. This is how I feel about Worf. He would never stick someone in the back with his batleth when that person's back is turned. But that's exactly what happens in Star Trek Picard season 3, which is why it is partially one of the reasons. Reason number 375, while I don't enjoy it and don't consider it Star Trek, because Worf has more honor than that. And but we're not gonna get into that. Just an aside, similarity there that I couldn't ignore. So I understand Jesse's actor's pain. I also like, on some level, when the actor can make contributions to make a scene better if it's a great idea. However, McGraw does not like this idea. He says, "Oh, that's real creative thinking. Warn the fastest gun in the West that he's about to be shot. Look, when you're up against Rance McGrew, you play it dirty or you play it dead." And of course, I feel like that's fairly hypocritical because not just a scene ago, he was telling the director how a cowboy behaves. So, anyway, we move on, moving on. Someone gives him a Coca-Cola instead of a ginger ale because the cola looks more like whiskey. But at this point, McGrew is complaining that he wants his ginger ale. And Jesse's still trying to fight for Jesse James's honor. And while this is happening, our Robert Klein. Oh my goodness, you guys. Oh, goodness gracious. Let me fix this. Oh, how long was that happening? That was happening for a while. Here, I'll go through the slides just once again from yeah, from right here. It wasn't a lot. You guys didn't miss a whole lot. So I'll go through all the slides again. And I already talked about them, so I don't have to talk about them again. But maybe it's kind of fun for someone like me who never went to film school to have an episode where you get kind of a meta perspective of filmmaking through the perspective of Rod Serling, who is a writer of this episode, portraying to me how filming is done. I like you for that also. And I do like the way it does portray how actors want to help in the scripting. When the director wants it a certain way, sometimes the actor also wants to help make it better. Sometimes that's good, sometimes it is not so good. And sometimes even the actors themselves clash with their own ideas, as they do here. Jesse James, the actor for Jesse James, wants to portray him more accurately to his perspective. And so he's fighting for that. And finally, here we go. Finally, the Twilight Zone thingy happens. We've been waiting for this one. So we see the Robert Klein, Jesse James disappear. So he's there, and then he's gone. And then we see the rafters. We see the man with his newspaper who we saw before. And now we look again. That's why it was good that he was set up before. We're not just looking at some, who's that guy? No, we saw him earlier, so we know he's there. He's established. Then we see now the ceiling is covered up. It's now a real saloon. The crew has disappeared. The roof is set to no longer open up to the to not the heavens, but to the rafters. And Jesse himself disappears as Robert Klein. And this is what Serling has to say about the episode according to Mark Scott Zikrie's book. Fred Fox had an interesting notion, which was quite serious, about a modern day cowpoke, not a television star, who found himself living in the past. It had no sense of humor in it. It was a straightforward piece. But it struck me that it would be incredibly interesting to have a guy who played the role of a Hollywood cowboy suddenly thrust into the maelstrom of reality in which he has to do all these acts of prowess against real people. And it just occurred to me, my God, what would happen if the Rance McGrews of our time had to face this? I used to think about John Wayne all the time, who had fought most of our major wars. In truth, of course, they were fought on the backlot of Warner Brothers, in which the most deadly jeopardy would be to get hit by a flying starlet. And I always wondered what Wayne's reaction would be if he ever had to lift an M1 and go through a bloody foxhole to attack sometime. But this is the element of the humor I was striving to get. So this whole episode reminds me a bit of Galaxy Quest, except for the actor in this case does not become the hero. He does not eventually become more than himself. He doesn't have that character defining change in his the psyche that he realizes he can help like Galaxy Quest does. This one he just stays the same. There's no character growth, but then again there's only 20 minutes. Galaxy Quest had a whole movie. So I'm not gonna blame it on this episode. I'm not gonna blame this episode for not having as much depth as Galaxy Quest, but it's a especially since the Twilight Zone did it first here. Yeah, that slide had staying power. Thank you. The Wayfarer. Yeah, I figured it out eventually. And Tony says, I see greatness in all of you. You just gotta lock in. I'm totally happy with what's going on here. Totally happy. So anyway, the music is also louder. Other patrons just look at him like he's a dumbass because he's screaming, "Where this is actually whiskey. Where's my ginger ale?" He's being a whiny baby, just like he always is. But now that he's actually in a real saloon, everybody's just dumbstruck by him, and so is he. And so all of the music scores in this episode come from different TV westerns, like Gunsmoke. And then, of course, we get an old man coming in warning him that Jesse James is on his way. And this makes McGrew even more frustrated because, oh, we've already seen Jesse James. Why are we doing this over again? so, so he's kind of still thinking he's in actor land, wondering where his crew is. So this is the opinion of Mark Scott Zicree. He says that this episode fails to come off because the real Old West presented in the episode is every bit as TV phony as the bogus Old West in the episode. The sets are identical and they look the same. The real Jesse James is no closer to historical reality than the phony one. Had it been done correctly, with the Old West presented as it really was, the show probably would have been quite entertaining, and it might have helped to deflate a few myths. As it is, though, Showdown with Rance McGrew is just dated, tedious, and silly. But I don't know. That is I read that verbatim from the Twilight Zone companion. That that is that's how I feel about half the episode. But once it switches to this quote unquote real Old West. I know it isn't the real one. It is less it's less painful to watch than the first half of the episode. And so Phantom Outsider says, well, he might eventually become a better person. Who knows? The chances might bring him greater, the changes might bring him greater success. Yeah, that's a good idea. That's possible. And Gamera is the friend of all children. Oh, no. No, 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 no. We're not talking about Gamera. And anyway, let Jason Nesmith be an inspiration to us all. I mean, so many of the old Western shows were so believable. Like Bonanza, a 50-year-old man married 4 times with 3 40-year-old sons and one in his late 20s. Wow. If it wasn't for MST3K, I would never have seen a Gamera movie. Also, on Bonanza, every time one of the boys were going to get married, the bride went to the cemetery. Odd, right? Wow. No, I never actually watched Bonanza. That's news to me. Although, I guess if I well, nope, I haven't seen one episode. And Jesse here is really tall. Jesse, the real Jesse James, wasn't is this tall. I guess as Mark Scott said, this isn't exactly accurate either, since posters from the Old West give his height between 5'8" and 5'10". That's pretty tall, but it's not tall enough to tower over somebody like this. But you know, it's all right. What's weird is that Jesse knows that somebody's been acting. He knows about McGrew and his crew and he knows about not the historical documents, but the future historical documents. Yeah, he knows about the future. He knows about the future broadcasts, but he doesn't think they're historical documents like in Galaxy Quest. He thinks they're real. He thinks he knows that it's a real acting. He doesn't think they're real. He knows that it's acting. He knows that it's pretend. He knows that he's even watched these episodes that we're going to see a little bit later. That might be the height of the silliness that Mark Zicree is talking about. Is that this guy from the past watches modern television shows, and that doesn't come up here yet, but that's what I think about immediately, and it's hard to ignore at this particular juncture because he does say he knows that someone else has been acting and pretending to be him. So this, of course, this isn't an accurate portrayal of the real Jesse James. Jesse James didn't watch westerns on TV. So McGrew is scared, and he calls for cut, but nobody is cutting. Nobody's cutting the scene. And so in the fictional world, Rance McGrew is the fastest gun in the West, but now we're getting the real Rance McGrew, who is a bit of a coward and I keep saying diva, but I think the word would have been prima donna. He wants things his way, and things are definitely not going his way now. So now McGrew is closing down while Jesse is confirming his identity. McGrew tells him to check another room, and he's frightened. So basically, he's like, hey, he puts his head down. McGrew puts his head down as if he's another bar patron and says, he went that away in that old classic. But Jesse says he knows he's a marshal. He's got the badge. So McGrew is still trying to get out of it. Oh, where's the fella that loaned me this vest? And Jesse says McGrew looks like a marshmallow. trying to needle McGrew's pride to get him angry, but he can't. Jesse says they'll have a drink and then they'll have a showdown. That's that's the order of operations because Jesse is naming the turn of events. He's got authority. But McGrew at least does catch his whiskey this time. And he tries to that intimidation move earlier, but he doesn't realize that the glass from before was made from breakaway glass that's easy to break. But now he tries to break the glass and it's made of stronger stuff. And it's hard to break. And once he finally does figure out how to break it, it just spills everywhere and is completely undrinkable. So that was a bad idea. And so we're back to some of the uncomfortable comedy from before, but now there's actual stakes behind it. Now McGrew's life is on the line because of his ineptitude. He eventually does, yeah, he eventually does get called a marshmallow again. Jesse also calls him a marshmallow, and still McGrew isn't that. It doesn't behave too angrily. And who was mentioning rolling the papers like reefer earlier? Well, Jesse gives McGrew some tobacco to roll his own cigarette, and he puts way, way too much tobacco on that rolling paper. Look at that rolling paper, and look at the amount of tobacco that's being poured on that poor, poor rolling paper. All of it is going to waste. The whole pack. I don't even smoke, and that's painful for me. He fails to roll any cigarette whatsoever, while Jesse rolls the perfect one. And Jesse calls him out on being not very good at anything, and he blows smoke in McGrew's face. Jesse's still trying to make McGrew angry by disrespecting him in that way, so he calls him a marshmallow, he blows smoke in his face, but he still can't seem to make McGrew angry. He wants to make, he's gonna have a showdown with him. He wants the other man to be tough, but McGrew is not tough. And yeah, he even calls McGrew an even-tempered dude. Although the first recorded use of dude appears in the 1880s, and Jesse James died in 1883. But we don't care. I think actually in this episode we don't care because in this reality, Jesse James is aware of 20th century television, so he gets to know the word dude. So forget that note. I wrote the note, and then I realized the note was silly because the episode is silly. And so fine, Jesse James can know all of the modern lingo because he watches modern television for some reason. And Jason Nesmith was Tim Allen's character on Galaxy Quest. Yes. Yes, indeed. I love Galaxy Quest so much. Same with Murder She Wrote. Who keeps inviting Aunt Jess to places? I mean, 12 seasons. That woman was a biblical plague. Jeez. And hello to Psych Opera. Oh, I don't recognize you. Let me see if I recognize you by going to your channel because there's this new thing with YouTube. No, yeah, Psych Electro Acoustic Opera Company. Oh, wow, you've got a whole channel. That's great. There's the I'll just put the channel that YouTube gives me here and I'll make it pretty later. But definitely check out Psych Opera. Great to see you. I got this rock and roll. Uchiku. I'm on meds as we speak, says Herc 130. Did you say Uchiku? Herc 130? You know what that means. I very rarely have reason to play this.
Oochie woochie coochie coo, Captain.
Oh, you're not late. You're just on time. Just whenever you're able to be here. It makes me happy to see you. And I think I have seen you here before, but it's been a while. Oh, that's Lisa. You streamed with her on Earworms. Oh, great. Okay, well, now I'm subscribed to Lisa's channel. That was cool to meet you. One of these days, I'll watch past season 1 of Babylon 5, I promise. Herc 130 says, I got the rock and roll hoochie coo. Oh, yeah, I read that already and played the video. Deliberate anachronistic. Deliberately anachronistic. Jill is solo today? Awesome. Yeah, well, I'm glad you like hearing something different. Rick Derringer, huh? And there we are. Let's continue the episode. And so Jesse James says he doesn't have time to be social. It's time for a meeting of the minds. And at those words, everyone in the bar takes cover because there's going to be some violence. So, and so then Jesse James decides to leave as quickly as he can, and Jesse James is even more intimately familiar with McGrew's TV show than I thought he'd be. I need a minute. I need to drink water. It is fun talking to you guys on my own, but I think I need some water now after 2 hours. So, of course, once again, Jesse James has been watching Western television and he starts rattling off plot lines that McGrew would confirm. He even feels delighted to talk about them, even saying he won an Emmy for one. And so this is all very amusing to Jesse James. I guess, yeah, Jesse James must know about Emmys. He watches TV in the past. This is all so silly. So now Jesse comes to the crux of the matter. Placed in a real situation like this, McGrew has never fired a real gun. I mean, I guess a gun, but by that he means a gun with blanks, but even a gun with blanks is a real gun. It's still dangerous. It can still kill you. Just ask Alec Baldwin. But but in this case, it is true in this particular instance that McGrew is inexperienced with actual weaponry because he never actually pulls the gun out of his holster, it seems, or he's not very good at it. And I guess just the power of editing and post production makes him look like a great cowboy. He doesn't practice with the real firearms like John Wick would. I mean, like Keanu Reeves would for John Wick, for example. He doesn't even know if McGrew ever allowed himself to lose his temper and hit a man he's angry with. Yeah, so he does kind of get angry, but he doesn't do anything about it. At the very least, McGrew has ridden a horse, so we get to see what's really going on and why Jesse James knows so much about McGrew's acting. So here's what Jesse says. So you don't shoot, you don't ride, and you don't fight. You just strut around wearing a phony badge, going through the motions of killing off fellows like me. And McGrew says, now I wouldn't say that. Now, last year, we had one script in which one of the Dalton boys went free. And Jesse says, he told me about it. He also told you how you captured him. You jumped 800 feet off a cliff and landed on the back of his horse when he wasn't looking. Come on. You ever jump 800 feet off a cliff and land on a man's horse? And McGrew says, heights make me ill. And Jesse says, that figures. We had a meetup up there. Me, my brother Frank, the Daltons, Sam Starr, Billy the Kid, quite a few others. And the consensus was that you wasn't doing a good thing for our names. So we had a little election and they chose me to come down here and maybe take a little of the shine off your pants. So apparently, I guess all of the outlaws from Western history got together at some certain temporal location. None of this makes any sense, but they all get together and say, "Hey, we're not being represented properly." And so they've been watching McGrew kill off their fake counterparts and growing increasingly indignant to the point that they've decided it's time for McGrew to lose. And I like that McGrew offers to take it up with the producer because that's a setup and a payoff. It works. Even though this is still one of the weaker episodes, it still does that basic storytelling that works pretty well. Even though it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense after this point. The outlaws decide how McGrew will lose now, and he's not going to have his stuntmen with him. So they're going to have a showdown. McGrew tries to make it tomorrow afternoon, but that doesn't work. You think that he's just going to straight up try to really run away, but he doesn't. This is a real showdown, according to the episode. You won't regret season 1 of Babylon 5. You'll get hooked. Actually, I saw season 1. I'm sorry. I misspoke. I saw season 1. I need to move on to season 2. Park 130 says, nailed it. It's actually coup, not coup. Wait, what? I was trying to be different. Wasabi. Oh, okay. Or if Clobby was here, Jesse James, it's clobbering time, but in an old Western way. Yeah. Live streaming is difficult for me, says Psych Opera. I don't think I've ever streamed alone for 2 hours. Well, hopefully I'm doing okay. I'm having fun though. The Comic Relief Crusader is, however, saying I miss Scotty now. Of course I miss Scotty. I miss talking to other people. I'm doing my best here though. On my own. Bilbo. Bilbo Baggins. Only 3 feet tall. Bravest little hobbit of them all. Yes. Yes, thank you, Leonard Nimoy, for bringing us that classic hit. Mage Grey Wolf says that I have a good chill vibe. Yes, that's why it's so great to pair me with excited people like Scotty, because we balance each other off really well. Thank you. Mhm. And Tony says he's more comfortable streaming alone when he does his variety show format. Well, that makes sense because you've got so many people to talk to, even when it's just you. As you say, they all live rent free inside your head. That must be helpful. So now they're finally they're finally moving on to the real showdown here. Where McGrew does not want to be shot. He does not want to be killed. So he's still there around the corner, but he doesn't want to come around the corner. He's just standing there. And eventually he does. He shows up and Jesse says that he's going to count to 5 and they're going to draw. Hold on, I want to blow my nose. That's a problem. Hey, maybe I can just play a video that's maybe 30 seconds. Let's see. Let's just pick the first long one I see. I don't have. Oh, here's one. Let's play this.
I need you.
Sir, I protest. I am not a merry man.
Thank heavens he's gone.
The women!
Listen, you bunch of tarts, it's clobbering time!
Okay. There. I needed a couple seconds there. So I just played a lot of random clips. And so, of course, not really knowing how to shoot. Jess is gonna count to 5 and they're gonna draw. So not really knowing how to shoot, McGrew begins to plead. He starts with pleading. He's pleading for his life. In between counting to 5, McGrew says these things. He says, "This is ridiculous. It's never done this way. I didn't even want to do this series. I just did it because of the residuals and the fact that they were going to let me use my own name as the character. I suppose you know, I have an aging mother and millions of fans all over this country, and they're going to hate you for this. And a lot of them are just like my old mother. You're killing an American institution. Stuntman, stuntman." It's so silly, the dialogue, oh my god. But and so then McGrew tries to draw his gun, but the problem is he can't. He's just as bad as it is ever. And Jesse says, "Just like I figured, this guy couldn't outdraw a crayon." Uh, let me see a sec something here. And crayons were invented in 1903. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, maybe. Oh, maybe crayons were invented in 1828. No, 1828. Okay, maybe that one's fine. Oh, Crayola crayons are 1903. So Jesse James is okay with crayons here. But how popular were crayons in the 1800s? I think maybe they weren't especially exactly for children yet, but it did exist. Okay. It's just the funny things that they have Jesse James say when he's supposed to be as accurate as possible. Would he have said that? I don't know. And so at this point, no stuntman is coming to save McGrew. So McGrew goes from pleading to straight up begging. "I'm too young to die." And so Jesse isn't any more impressed with his acting than his lack of shooting. And McGrew is begging some more. He's actually also moving his finger to move the barrel. He's using his finger to move the barrel of Jesse's gun. So he's still trying to be funny. But this works. He says, "I'll do anything." Like, he'll do absolutely anything. And McGrew's plea to do anything to not die works. And Jesse's going to think about it. He rolls a cigarette. He lights it. Then after he lights it, he rolls that cigarette really quickly. Very talented at rolling cigarettes. And then he vanishes. He calls out for Jesse and reappears back at the set. So, but of course, they're like, "Oh no, we got your ginger ale right here." And so Tommy says that Rance's agent is outside and needs to talk. And of course, you know who is going to turn out to be. It's not actually McGrew's agent. It's actually, well, and he's got so many bottles of whiskey. I don't know what Tommy's up to with all those bottles. Maybe they're extra and he gets to have them. But of course, McGrew has a new agent, and it is Jesse James. Traveled to the future or something. I don't know what's happening somehow. And he's in more modern clothing. He's looking right at home in the future. And he's going to influence the movies so that the outlaws are portrayed with more accuracy, or at least seen as a little tougher and not so dishonorable. And now Jesse, he will, well, and I'm not sure. And there you go. There's the Mr. Ed again. He's not really Mr. Ed, but he could be a stand-in. Maybe he played. I'll give you one thing. Maybe he played as a stuntman for Mr. Ed one time. I don't know for sure, but it's a guess. He could have. So they have stunt men. Why not stunt horses? So he'll be a. So that's the question: is what's exactly going to change now that Jesse James is McGrew's agent? Now the outlaws, the desperados are gonna maybe see, because McGrew is still the hero. He still has to win, but maybe now the outlaws are gonna get not treated so poorly. They will actually they'll lose, but they'll still be able to escape. It, it's gonna be an odd balance to still keep McGrew as a hero, but not look too amazing against the classic villains. But anyway, I guess we're just gonna have to trust the artistic integrity of Jesse James to this fictional story of McGrew as the marshal in his Western stories, because that is what's going on now. Because now Jesse James controls the show. And here's the closing narration: the evolution of the so-called adult Western and metamorphosis of one Rance McGrew, formerly Phony Baloney, now upright citizen with a preoccupation with all things involving tradition, truth, and cowpoke predecessors. It's the way the cookie crumbles and the six-gun shoots in the Twilight Zone. So all of these guys, Jesse James, Billy the Kid, Dalton brothers, and others, they're just upset that all these westerns are just not accurate. So that's really strange when they've come to correct the matter. And before I get back to the chat, I just want to get through this one part here where I describe the preview for next week's story. For all of us, even the most young at heart, I do suppose there's a little kernel of want having to do with reliving childhood. That grand and glorious moment in time when the biggest guy around is the patrol boy. Next week on The Twilight Zone, this moment is recaptured in George Clayton Johnson's exceptionally written, sensitive story called Kick the Can. It co-stars Mr. Ernest Trooks and Mr. Russell Collins. So that's a classic one, Kick the Can. Then next one is this one. Preview for next week's story. Next week on The Twilight Zone, we'll roll a musical instrument purchased in this store. Now, there are pianos and pianos, but this one was manufactured in our very own strange, unpredictable factory. It comes to you via the typewriter of Mr. Earl Hamner, and it boasts a collection of oddities and oddball doings. Next week, you can roll up the rug as we bring you a piano in the house. And there you go. I forgot who said earlier, mentioned something about a piano in the house. Next week, a piano in the house and kick the can. So Those are good. Those I know Kick the Can is a super classic I've seen a few times. I have not seen a piano in the house, or I don't remember it right at this juncture. So we'll see what we see. And so let's check the chat and let's check the poll and let's see what we're doing. See where we are. Bilbo, yes. Of course, I always miss Scotty. Let's see. Frodo was braver. Yeah, Frodo was braver than McGrew. That's true. And where did he catch the Dalton boy? On the floor of the Grand Canyon? Not too many 800-foot drops on the mostly flat West. That's kind of funny. Yeah, that's a good point. Of course, Sam was the bravest of them all, says the Wayfarer Project. Yes, Sam is basically the hero of the Lord of the Rings. Sam is the greatest sidekick, the greatest best friend. Super loyal. He cannot carry Frodo's burden, but he can carry Frodo. Yeah, I feel the same way, CRC. I don't mind streaming alone, but I like to have fun with others on my stream. But yeah. But it makes it easier when you have a great chat to stream alone. Crayons were for eating back then. The Wayfarer Project. Yeah, well, I could pretty much come up with anything. Whenever I do research live on the show, it's not as good as when I do the research before the show. In early 60s, residuals were not that common, so McGrew was a pretty big deal in those Hollywood days. 3K a week and residuals? Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty spicy. Yeah, that's a lot of money. Kim says Jill is great. Thank you very much. And the odd thing, oh no, CRC, don't eat the crayons. Phantom Outsider says the odd thing is Jesse should be mad at the writers and producers, not the actors. That's true. That's a great point, Phantom Outsider. They should have kidnapped the producers and the writers. That would have been funny. It would have been a funny twist. I like this. Let's rewrite this whole Twilight Zone episode and make it about the producers and the writers. All right. I like it. So, Crayola, formerly Benny and Smith, my neck of the woods in Easton, Pennsylvania. Wow. What we think of as crayons appeared in 1903. Before that, they were made of chalk, and the word crayon comes from the French word for chalk. Oh, see? That's amazing. Thank you, Mage Grey Wolf. It's a lot easier doing research when you're not live, so it's not so good to do it during the stream. Wes Cagle says, Hail, Happy Heroes Day. USA. Yes. Happy Veterans Day. And to Canada, happy Remembrance Day. A horse is a horse, of course, of course. Phantom Outsider says, Mr. Ed owes his career to George Burns, as Burns paid to produce the pilot out of his own pocket, as he liked the talking horse concept. And I like when Robert Culp shows up on an episode. Oh, I guess that would be a kind of touristy thing to do, Phantom Outsider, to go to Easton, Pennsylvania, and bring some used crayons, and they'll mold them for you. That's adorable. Yeah, you can mold them into different shapes. I guess maybe they have cookie cutter shapes. Sig Baldison says, "Kick the Can was a great one. I think they redid it for the new Twilight Zone too. I think it was in the movie." But I guess we'll find out because we are going to cover the movie later after we finish the episodes. Oh. Oh, Okay, great. Okay, so CRC says that he sent my and Scotty's message to Hungry Boy. Yes, we did. We did make a short little video just for Hungry Boy. I hope he enjoys it. Crayon also means pencil in French. Well, Canadian French, anyway. Tony says, going to have new parodies, skits, songs, and puppets. Going to be good for the matinee. So it's the best show. Yeah, you will put on your the best show that you can, of course. Good for you, Tony, says Kim. This was Rod Serling's avoiding responsibility. It's not me, it's the actor. Even though I wrote the story and the lines, as Kirk said, not me, him. That would have been funny though. There's precedence for it, Phantom Outsider, to put Serling in the episode because there was that one episode with the recorder where Serling shows up actually as a character. And having Serling have to do the shootout would be hilarious. This show gets weirder and weirder by the stream. It's almost like going for a tour in the Twilight Zone. Good for everyone. Trust us. Trust me. I don't know why I'm saying it like that in particular, but that's how it feels. Ah, Wayfair. Praise be to your grandmother. Oh, what did I miss? My grandmother was from Eastern Pennsylvania. Gotcha. It was in the movie The Great Scatman Carruthers was the man that showed up with the can. Yes, well, we will talk about Kick the Can next week. The glove cleaner says she was a great woman. She rests. Oh, wait. The Wayfair Project says to the glove cleaner that she was a great woman. And she rests in East Bangor Cemetery. Sorry, the font is a little small here. And so that was an episode of The Twilight Zone. This one, well, because I love Galaxy Quest, I love the idea of this episode, but I think maybe the execution isn't as good as it could have been. I think Mark Scott Zicree gets it right in terms of saying this is the fake set, and then when you transform to the real set, there should have been a bit more done to dress it up a bit to be a little more realistic. And I'm not an expert in this matter, so I didn't have this opinion on my own. Just reading Mark Scott Zicree, and so that would have been neat if they went into that direction. But since I don't know so much, it didn't bother me as much. But it's still really great to see Rod's perspective on how he wants us to see how filming is done and how it is with an actor. And man, well, and not everyone is going to be a super gold science fiction classic of the ages because man, Sterling, he had a lot to write, a lot of writing to do, a lot of episodes to put out. And maybe his comedy ones aren't always the best ones. They're actually really cringy. And in this one, it is also true. But it's still it's a little bit funny, even if it's a little bit painful. Mhm. And but it's fun. It's still a fun episode, and the first one is a really sweet episode about the virtues of loving your pet and how that helped to redeem Hyder. I don't know what he needed to have redeemed, but clearly he was tested for a reason, Probably for something he did off screen that we have no idea about. But he passed the test. That's great. And I'm pretty happy about that. Yeah, these two are not my favorites. No, but we talked about them, and we did it. We did it together. And next week we get to watch some way more classic ones, some better ones. But these are still, like CRC said at the beginning, even the mediocre Twilight Zones are a phenomenal television versus today's. They were still entertaining. But that's all I have to share with you guys today. So I think I'll allow you guys to enjoy. Yeah, we're finished really early when it's just me up here. So I think I'll let you enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Thanks for stopping in with me to learn a little bit about the Twilight Zone and how it was made. I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope to see you all next Tuesday when we continue the Twilight Zone and this. Oh wait, actually there's something very special going on tonight, which is quite unusual for me. I'm trying something new. There is a membership stream tonight, but everybody can watch it. So everybody's allowed to watch this membership stream. Usually my membership streams during the day are 100% membership only, where you need to be a member to watch it, to participate. But in this case, subscribers will be able to not only watch but be in the chat, and it's a membership stream because just members are on the panel, which is different from my shore leave, because although I invite members to my shore leave shows, I also invite people who are not members to my shore leave shows. So you could see almost anybody on a shore leave. So this one is special in that you got to be a member to be on the panel, but anybody's going to get to watch it for the first time. I've seen other YouTubers do this, so I want to try it out. And I think it'll be great because there are a lot of people who cannot make daytime streams. And so my daytime membership streams are nice for people who are, who can make it, but for people who miss out because they can only show up later on in the day, this will be neat for them. So let's see who shows up at what time. At 7:30 p.m. Central. Might just send our newest representative for the member show. All right. Well, we'll see what happens, and it'll be great. You're a member, so you are invited. Game stream in 20 minutes for Low Specs Linux Gaming. Check him out. Let's grab his link. And I got it right in here somewhere. This will take only a moment because uh-oh. Maybe it'll take a couple of moments. I'll grab it easily. I know what I'm doing. This is a quality show. He says that he's going to be streaming in a few minutes, but yet I can't see him in the chat. What the heck is going on? Why are you in my StreamYard, Low Spec? But because are you only streaming on Rumble, Low Specs? That's why I can't see you in the other chat. I'm trying to grab that one. Anyway, okay, so I'm grabbing the YouTube link, and I also need the Rumble link. So let's find that one. We got a minute. I got plenty of time. Low Spec Linux laptop. Let's see if we can find it this way. Oh, maybe not. No. I don't know what your name is in. Oh wait, okay, I know what to do. Jeff Pierre. Let's type it in this way. Hey, Wes Cagle, do you have Low Spec Linux Gaming's link to his Rumble? I should be sharing that because he's using that more and more these days. So let me try to grab that one because he's going to be streaming in a few minutes, and we want to see if few people want to check out what he's doing. He's a real chill guy, really great. Great to watch. There he is. I found it. Okay, there we are. Here we are. Here's the link for Low Specs Linux Gaming. And that's his YouTube link and also his Rumble link. So check both of them out. And oh, he also shared it here like this. Okay, so I got the channel link. Thank you, Wes Cagle. Good job. Amazing. I knew I should have just trusted Wes Cagle because he's here. I'm also streaming on YouTube, but not in YouTube in the chat. I know that was exciting, but I got you. I'm going to update all my documents to include your Rumble so it doesn't take so long next time. Of course, that means y'all have to tolerate an act. Well, yes, but as long as it's not the whole thing and we will move on to something else. Yeah, that's no problem. We'll see. I don't mind a little bit of that. The original Outer Limits was great too. Of course. I need to watch more of that. The only thing of that I have right now is this. Not that. This.
We are controlling the transmission.
No, you're doing great, Wes Cagle. Thank you. I'm glad you got it. So that's all for now. We'll see you next time. Thank you for hanging out, talking about the Twilight Zone. And okay, so that's what's going on today. Tonight's a membership stream that everybody can watch. And on Friday, we're going to play some more Star Trek, the 25th anniversary. And so that'll be the Friday show. And then on Saturday night, we're at 11 p.m. Central Time. We're going to cover Moonraker. So if you guys like James Bond, that'll be my very first James Bond stream. And there you go. If you check out Stark of Iron here. Thank you, Wes Cagle, for posting that. Star Trek, yay! Yes, Star Trek on Friday. It'll be fun playing games. Fun stream, Jill. Hey, thank you. Well, thanks for sticking around for the whole time, too. That was really special for me. Thank you for taking time out of your day to hang out with me. Okay, I'll see you later. Bye, guys.
Learn all that is learnable.
And the ways our differences combine to create meaning and beauty.
It has always been easier to destroy than to create.
May we together become greater than the sum of both of us.
Well, now you have something new to think about. Carry on.
All right, move along. Done. Stop it. Get off of the things. Go outside. Get some food. It's like, you know, it's a time of day where you live. Go do something. Shut up, Snoopy. I don't care. You smoke too much. Let's go. Let's go adventure. Let's go explore.
Emma.